Alda, the beloved face of MASH, is often remembered for his kind smile and soft-spoken wisdom. But behind the scenes, Hollywood was not always full of love and laughter. Fame can be lonely, and success often attracts jealousy, betrayal, and painful clashes. While Alda seemed like a peacekeeper on screen, there were moments in his career that tested his patience and broke his trust. From creative differences to personal betrayals, Alda held grudges that fans never saw. In this emotional countdown, we reveal the 6 actors Alda reportedly could not stand and the explosive reasons why. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Alda, life was filled with achievements, but it was not without personal struggles and professional challenges. Born into a showbiz family in 1936, Alda had to live with the emotional burden of a mother who suffered from severe mental illness. His father, a stage and film actor, was constantly on tour, which made Alda grow up fast and often feel abandoned. These early experiences shaped his sensitive and intellectual approach to acting, but they also made him wary of fake friendships and backstage politics. When Alda joined the cast of MASH, he quickly became a central figure, not just as an actor, but as a creative force behind the scenes. While this gave him a unique voice, it also caused friction. Some saw him as overbearing or controlling, especially when he started directing and writing episodes. There were rumors of jealousy, competition, and even backstabbing on set, all of which left a lasting impression on Alda. In later years, as he moved to serious film roles and became more vocal politically, Alda's outspoken nature caused him to clash with more conservative actors and directors. His passion for fairness and strong opinions sometimes isolated him in an industry known for its egos and silence. Despite his friendly public image, Alda had real issues with certain people in the business ones who crossed his lines or betrayed his trust. These conflicts, built over decades, reveal a man who stood by his values, even when it meant burning bridges. Now we talk about 6 actors he disliked the most. Number 1. Wayne Rogers. Alda and Wayne Rogers were once the dynamic duo of MASH, with Alda playing Hawkeye and Rogers playing his loyal friend, Trapper John. Fans loved their chemistry, but behind the scenes, their relationship grew tense and eventually turned cold. In the early seasons, both actors shared equal spotlight, but as Alda took on more creative control, things began to shift. Alda started writing and directing episodes, and many believed he was reshaping the show to focus more on his own character. Wayne Rogers was known to be an easygoing guy, but he reportedly grew frustrated with the direction the show was taking. He felt sidelined, underused, and disrespected. He even claimed that Alda had too much power and was changing the original spirit of the series. Their disagreements were not explosive or loud, but quiet and bitter, building tension over time. When Rogers suddenly left the show after season 3, it shocked fans, but insiders knew the decision was a result of long-standing creative differences. Although Rogers never publicly attacked Alda directly, his departure spoke volumes. Alda, on the other hand, remained silent but was clearly hurt and annoyed by the split. He viewed Rogers' exit as unprofessional and selfish, especially since it happened without warning and left a gap in the cast. Over the years, Alda rarely mentioned Rogers, even in interviews about MASH. This silence was telling. While Alda was known to be warm with most co-stars, he kept his distance from Rogers and did not reach out for reconciliation. Their once powerful friendship had crumbled behind the spotlight. For Alda, this was not just a professional disagreement, it was a personal betrayal. And he never forgot how it felt to be left behind when the cameras were still rolling. Number 2. Gary Berghoff. Gary Berghoff played Radar O'Reilly, the sweet, innocent company clerk on MASH, a fan favorite and often the emotional heart of the series. On screen, Alda and Berghoff shared many heartfelt scenes that felt like genuine friendship. But off-camera, things were very different. Their relationship grew complicated and, at times, deeply strained. In the beginning, Alda appreciated Berghoff's quirky talent and childlike energy. But as the show progressed, Alda reportedly became frustrated with Berghoff's behavior on set. Crew members described Berghoff as sensitive and emotionally reactive. He would often storm off set or take offense easily. Alda, who valued professionalism and calm on set, found this draining and disruptive to the work environment. Berghoff also dealt with personal struggles, including insecurity and stress, which made it harder for him to cope with fame. He would often clash with writers and directors over his character's development, and Alda, who was deeply involved in the creative process, became one of the people he pushed back against. When Berghoff left the show in season 8, Alda was part of writing his emotional farewell episode. But according to multiple reports, Alda was privately relieved. He felt that Berghoff's presence had become too difficult and unpredictable. Even though the goodbye was tearful on screen, there was no warm connection behind the scenes. In later years, Alda avoided speaking much about Berghoff in public. He praised the character but kept his distance from the man behind it. For Alda, Berghoff was a painful reminder that talent does not always come with peace. Their relationship was a mix of admiration and disappointment, and Alda likely carried quiet resentment for the chaos Berghoff brought to the set, chaos he never fully forgave. Number 3. McLean Stevenson. McLean Stevenson, who played the lovable and goofy Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake, was another key figure during the early seasons of MASH. On screen, his chemistry with Alan Alda helped create the unique blend of comedy and tragedy that made the show iconic. But behind the scenes, Stevenson's growing dissatisfaction with his role began to create tension, especially with Alda, who was quickly becoming the creative and emotional center of the series. Stevenson believed he deserved more recognition and screen time. He wanted to expand his character beyond comic relief, and felt that Alda's rising influence was limiting other actors' opportunities. Alda, who had started writing and directing episodes, was often accused, quietly, of favoring his own character and creative vision. While Alda never directly argued with Stevenson in public, insiders say the mood between them grew distant and tense. When Stevenson abruptly left the show after season 3 to pursue a solo career, Alda took it personally. He felt Stevenson was abandoning the team and betraying the show's spirit. Alda later helped write Blake's shocking and tragic death, the only major character to die during the show. It was bold, emotional, and final. Some believed it was a creative way for Alda to say goodbye on his terms and ensure Stevenson would never return. Though Alda claimed the death was written for dramatic impact, others felt it had a layer of personal emotion behind it. In interviews afterward, Alda rarely mentioned Stevenson warmly. The mutual respect had faded. Alda saw him as someone who gave up too early, someone who walked away from something meaningful. For Alda, Stevenson's exit symbolized selfishness and disappointment, two things he never forgot. The split was quiet, but left a scar that never truly healed. Number 4. Larry Linville. Larry Linville played the infamous Frank Burns, the uptight, mean-spirited major that everyone loved to hate. His character was essential in creating the show's tension and humor, especially through clashes with Alan Alda, more compassionate Hawkeye. But what many fans did not know was that the tension did not stay on screen. Behind the scenes, Alda and Linville often struggled to see eye to eye, especially when it came to character development and the show's deeper message. Linville was a classically trained actor who believed in structure, tradition, and following the script. Alda, however, was growing more interested in emotional depth, social issues, and evolving the show's tone. As Alda gained creative influence, he began pushing MASH away from broad comedy and into more dramatic, thoughtful storytelling. Linville's character, Frank Burns, started to feel one-dimensional in this new vision, more of a cartoon villain than a real person. Linville repeatedly asked for his character to be given more depth, complexity, and growth, but Alda and the writers seemed to ignore those requests. Linville felt stuck and frustrated. He believed that Alda, who had the power to make creative changes, chose not to. This silent resistance hurt Linville, who felt humiliated and left out of the show's evolution. After 5 seasons, Linville chose to leave. Officially, he said it was time to move on, but those close to the set say he left with a heavy heart, feeling disrespected and ignored. Alda, for his part, rarely acknowledged Linville's departure in detail. The two never had a public falling out, but they also never reconnected. For Alda, Linville represented an old version of MASH. He wanted to leave behind a painful reminder that change often comes with conflict, and not every colleague becomes a friend. Number 5. Robert Duvall. While Robert Duvall never appeared on MASH, his clash with Alan Alda came later off the set, in Hollywood's political and artistic circles. Both actors were powerful voices in the industry, but their values and personalities could not have been more different. Alda, known for his liberal activism, feminist views, and soft-spoken diplomacy, was often at odds with more conservative, hard-edged figures in the industry, and Duvall was one of them. The two reportedly had a heated disagreement during an industry event in the early 1990s. Alda was speaking passionately about the responsibility of artists to reflect moral values and promote compassion. Duvall, a blunt, no-nonsense figure, saw this as preachy and out of touch. He interrupted Alda, calling his views naive and suggesting that actors should stick to acting, not politics. The room fell silent. Alda, visibly shaken but composed, responded with grace, but he never forgot the moment. The incident did not lead to any direct public feud, but it did leave a lasting chill. Alda later referenced the confrontation in an interview without naming Duvall, saying, "Some people believe kindness is weakness, and I will never accept that." It was a quiet but sharp statement, and those in the know understood exactly who it was aimed at. Alda values empathy, collaboration, and decency, things he felt Duvall disrespected in that moment. Duvall, on the other hand, believed in raw realism and artistic independence, even if it came across as harsh. Their worlds clashed, and for Alda, it was more than a difference of opinion, it was a rejection of everything he stood for. Though Alda never publicly criticized Duvall, sources say he avoided future projects involving him. The respect was lost and never regained. Number 6. William Christopher. William Christopher, who played the kind-hearted Father Mulcahy on MASH, might seem like an unexpected name on this list. His gentle presence on screen mirrored his real-life personality, soft-spoken, polite, and deeply spiritual. However, even among the calmest waters, tension can quietly stir. Though Alan Alda and Christopher never had loud fights or dramatic fallouts, their relationship was marked by growing distance, quiet disapproval, and conflicting creative paths. Christopher was known for his deep religious beliefs and preferred to stay away from politics or controversy. Alda, by contrast, was outspoken, advocating for feminism, liberal values, and human rights. During the show run, Alda began shaping MASH into a platform for social commentary, which often challenged traditional systems, including religion. Although Christopher was a professional and did his job with dedication, sources close to the cast said he felt increasingly uncomfortable with some of the political and anti-war messages woven into the scripts. Alda noticed the discomfort. As the show's tone grew more serious and socially charged, he sensed Christopher pulling away emotionally. They remained civil, but Alda was reportedly frustrated that Christopher never fully supported the direction he was taking the series. It was not about personal dislike, but rather a lack of shared vision. Christopher also resented being sidelined. While Alda's role expanded as actor, writer, and director, Christopher's character remained limited. He quietly voiced his concerns, but Alda, focused on the show's broader themes, paid little attention. Over time, Alda began seeing Christopher as someone who did not understand the deeper message of MASH. While the show celebrated compassion, the lack of unity behind the scenes left emotional cracks. For Alda, the disconnect with Christopher was not loud, but it was lasting. Respect faded, and friendship never truly formed. Alan Alda may be remembered as a kind, wise figure on television, but his journey through fame was filled with hidden heartbreak and quiet feuds. He stood for truth, compassion, and creativity, values not everyone around him shared. The people he once trusted sometimes let him down, and the pain of betrayal stayed with him long after the cameras stopped rolling. Behind his smile was a man who fought for meaning in a world of egos and ambition. These 6 actors, each in their own way, left scars, and those scars shaped the man fans thought they truly knew.